Hey there, this is Natalie, and we now have ReZero Arc 7, Chapter 13. Volume 27 of the light novel, which will be based on the next chapters, has also been confirmed for June, so that means we'll probably be looking at a similar pattern to what we had for Volume 26, with Tappei releasing the next web novel chapters fairly rapidly over the next few weeks, and then taking a break to get them ready for the light novel. As before, I'll be making these detailed summaries for the new chapters as they're released, alongside my other content, so make sure you're subscribed. I make these summaries using Google Translate, which I prefer to DeepL because it comes up with funnier mistakes, and I'll be sure to keep on sharing those with you as we go. And now let's get straight into ReZero Arc 7 Chapter 13, which Google Translate says is titled, "In a Body That Is Not God." The chapter starts with a fairly poetic sequence, during which Subaru is still unconscious, and it seems this chapter takes place immediately after chapter 12, so Subaru here is about to come round after being healed from the brink of death. The translation of this part isn't too bad, and it probably makes more sense if I just read it for you than try to summarise it. So it says, swaying, fluttering, swaying. Consciousness sways slowly. It sways to the right and to the left, as if you were on a ship going through the ocean. I feel heavy, swaying consciousness, and even though my eyelids are closed, my eyes seem to turn. Not enough. Everything is missing. Blood, flesh, bones, peace, anger, joy, and the various things that make up a person are lacking. It's not enough, as if I spilled everything somewhere. I'm vaguely thinking that I have to pick it up. I have to pick it up again, repack it, and then stand up again. There was a place I had to go to, and I wanted to go. There was a reason I had to live, and I had a desire to scream to live. So, because even if everything is missing and imperfect, we have to move on. For that reason, Subaru Natsuki. And there it just trails off. Subaru is then described waking up and not knowing where he is. The ceiling above him looks like an unfamiliar but shabby place, and he likens it to when Garfield held him captive in the sanctuary. He knows, though, that he was transported to Vollakia, and he remembers that he needs to be concerned about Rem. He calls out for her and realises she's actually next to him and has been holding his hand the whole time, even though she acts like it has been quite disgusting to hold the sweaty thing. He asks if Rem is injured, and she says that he was worse, and tells him that he had been dying. He sees his new right hand, without the black marks on it, and realises that it hadn't been a dream, that somehow he really did have a perfect new hand. Rem says he looks pale and should sleep longer, but he realises he must be in the house of one of the people of Sudrak, and says he wants to speak to Mizelda. But before that, he also wants to know where Louis is. He thinks that this isn't because he's worried about her, but because he's worried about the dangers of leaving Louis unchecked. Rem asks him why he's so cold towards Louis. Subaru tells her that he can't explain it to her, and feels uneasy about how these exchanges about Louis with Rem always make her unhappy. Still, Rem says that he should simply look to his left, and he sees that Louis is fast asleep next to him, and has been sleeping beside him. This gives him an extremely sinister feeling. The scene changes and Subaru is in the square of the Sudrak village, which is described as being very rudimentary, hidden away in the forest. He's with Rem, who is still using a cane to walk, and Louis, and here he meets with Mizelda. They have some banter, and Subaru thinks that while he can't remember much from after the Bloodlife ritual, it's good that Mizelda's attitude towards him is friendly, so they can start off on the right foot now. But he says he thinks he needs to talk to him, and in a village full of women, this can only mean Vincent. Mizelda says he's in their village hall with her sister Tarita. The assembly hall is the largest building in the village, and inside Subaru finds Vincent sitting on the ground by a fire, and his face is painted in red and white. It says it's like a demon's face, only since demons are real in this world, that's not quite what it is. Subaru finds him frankly terrifying. Subaru calls him Vincent Abellux, and Vincent takes this very badly, telling him that he shouldn't use his name lightly, and that if he does it a third time, he will punish him. This refers back to something that was established in the X4 prequel novel, which has Vincent in it when he was still on the throne, where he says that in the Empire they don't ask for things a third time. Subaru and Vincent kind of argue here, with Subaru seeming to be more trying to figure Vincent out than anything, but Vincent is very intimidating, and Subaru knows it's better to just call him Abel like he asked him to. He says he wants to talk to him alone, and Vincent asks Tarita and some other Sudrak women who are in the hall to leave. Subaru notices how much Vincent seems to have won their respect. Subaru now wonders whether it's best for Rem to leave too, and Vincent says that he probably doesn't want her to hear what they're about to discuss. He asks Rem to wait outside, and she's a bit stubborn about it, but she still does. Now Subaru says that he wants to know how much of what he thinks happened was real, and how much was a dream. Really, he wants to know if the Sudrak really took out the Vollakian military base to save Rem for him. Vincent confirms that that did happen, but that there were no casualties among the Sudrak. He says that this is because of all the information they had about the camp, its layout and the people in it, which allowed them to attack very effectively, and he credits Subaru for giving them that information. Subaru doesn't remember doing this, and Vincent says that when they thought he was dying, they gave him medicinal herbs that had the side effect of him being able to answer their questions in his unconscious state. This explains all of the stuff about tents that Subaru was thinking about while unconscious in the last chapter. Subaru is angry about this because he says that had he known he was in a strategy meeting, he would have opposed a strategy that involved killing people. Vincent tells him that to be able to achieve this without anybody dying would just be a dream. He says that he won't tolerate Subaru indulging in foolishness, and that the cost of not giving up is someone other than you dying. Subaru clenches his teeth at the unforgivable truth of it. He doesn't understand why Vincent got to be the one deciding which lives would be lost. He asks him if he means to play God. Vincent says that he's neither a god or a hero, he's a king among kings, the 77th emperor of the Holy Wallachian Empire. Though, right now, he's down from the top. And that's the end of the chapter. It wasn't a particularly eventful one, given Subaru wasn't conscious for the last events of chapter 12, and so we hadn't yet really had a chance to see what he thought about those developments, or interacting more with Vincent from the position of knowing his true identity. It was interesting to see that there was no time skip, and so it looks like we'll be continuing to have the Sudrak village as the setting while Vincent reveals whatever it is he wants to do about getting his throne back, and how Subaru is going to be involved. As I said, I think we can expect new chapters to come out quite rapidly, so make sure you're subscribed, because my summary of chapter 14 will be up as soon as we get the next chapter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again very soon.